Good morning. It is Friday, September 4th, and if we make it through today, we will have made it through the first 2 weeks of the weirdest school year ever. I am out here next to my house because I want you to see these spider lilies. They're really similar to flowers that I grew up with that we called surprise lilies. The reason they're surprising is that they grow from bulbs in the ground, and they have a little bit of foliage earlier in the year, but then it kind of dies back and you kind of forget about it, and then all of a sudden one day, wham, there are all these flowers. Surprise! I'll probably cut some of them and bring them to school today to put on my desk. Anyway, I thought I would use this as an excuse to do a video outside so that you could see my spider lilies. A handful of school announcements for you to think about this morning. First, oh, and by the way, these are supposed to be being emailed to you, so if you're a person who likes to read the announcements and you're not getting those in your email inbox, please let me know and I'll try to figure out what's up and how to help you fix it. So let's see. I have the announcements from yesterday, see? Beginning today, all student breakfast and lunches are free, 1 per day per student. This will continue until the end of the calendar year, so through Christmas. Free lunch, free breakfast. Yearbook number 2, yearbooks are now on sale. Email maumelle@gmail.com. They're $45 as long as you pay for them before October 1st. Seniors, or for that matter, anybody else who needs a transcript, you do not email your counselor or the counseling secretary. You need to email Mrs. Howard. Coach Pearson, who is the volleyball person, is looking for a manager for the freshmen and for the high school teams. He especially wants somebody who can help with taking pictures and film matches and stuff. You have to either be able to drive or have somebody pick you up after the volleyball matches. Coach Pearson is the guy who is in the classroom right next to mine, by the way, so you can email him, or also I'm sure you could just stop by and talk to him if you're in school in person. Let's see, 9th grade girls basketball tryouts will be Wednesday through Friday before school. Oh, I guess we've already missed that. Students, I love number 6. Look, here's number 6. Students, please remember, do not come to school today if you are sick. Really, do we have to be told this? I kind of think we know this, right? Except they put it in the announcements because maybe people are coming to school sick. Please don't do that, guys. We would really, really like to stay healthy for as long as possible this fall. If you're sick, stay home. Speaking of being sick, I would like to talk about COVID-19 numbers in Arkansas, because yesterday was a big day for COVID-19 positive cases. So there's only been one day this summer where we have had over 1,000 new cases reported. Yesterday it was 969, so that I believe is the second highest new case day that we have had here in Arkansas. That is not good. It means we have a total of over 63,000 cases of COVID-19. Now that does not mean we have 63,000 current cases, right? Some of those people have gotten better, but still a total of 63,000 and some people from Arkansas have had COVID-19 this year. 45 newly admitted to the hospital yesterday. 20 people died from COVID yesterday in Arkansas. And we've talked before about the positivity rate. We had 7,827 new tests reported. So if you take 969, which is the number of people who were positive, divided by 7,827, which is the total number of tests, you get the positivity rate, and it's 12%. It's over 12%. Now remember that the CDC has said that schools shouldn't open in person, or should consider not opening in person, maybe they said, if positivity rates are above 5%. That precluded an earlier statement about 10%. Either way, we're still above that here in Arkansas, so we really need to be careful. Please, when you wear your mask, cover your nose up. Air comes out your mouth, right? And in the air that comes out of your mouth, there might be particles of water that contain viruses, right? Guess what comes out your nose? The same thing that comes out your mouth. So if you go around with a mask like this, And your nose is sticking out. Okay, maybe it'll help a little bit, but there's still air coming out of your nose that may have droplets, that may have virus in it. So please protect the rest of us and cover your dadgum nose. I have had a question lately about, they've been referring to 3 different kinds of tests. So, and I was a little confused about 2 of those things. So I looked them up for you last night so that we could talk about them today. They've talked about PCR tests and antigen tests and antibody tests. All right, so antibody tests are pretty easy to figure out because we know that when we're sick, our body produces antibodies to fight whatever illness it is, right? So if someone has COVID-19, then their body's going to produce antibodies to COVID-19, and those can be detected in a test. So the antibody test for COVID-19 doesn't actually test for current infection, but it can tell us with a reasonable amount of accuracy if we have had COVID-19. So I could go in for an antibody test because, you know, I was kind of sick in June. I wonder if that was COVID. So I could go in and get an antibody test, and if my body still has antibodies inside it that were used to fight COVID-19, that test hopefully would pick that up. It's not foolproof, but that's what the antibody test is. It does not test whether I'm sick right now, because if I'm sick right now, my body may not have produced enough antibodies to show up on that test. Okay, moving on. PCR test is what we think of usually when we think of a COVID test. That's the stick the thing up your nose, and usually takes a few days for results to come back. PCR stands for polymerase chain reaction, and yes, I had to write that down. That it tests for the virus that causes COVID. So that swab that they put inside your face, they get particles on it from where they put it, right? And then they can test those particles, and they can tell if there are a significant number of COVID-19 virus particles in there. The antigen test, this is the one I really had to look up because I truly did not understand what an antigen test was. It tests for pieces of the proteins that make up COVID-19. So it's cheaper, it's quicker, but it's not quite as accurate. An antigen test doesn't look for the COVID-19 virus. It looks for pieces of the protein that make up the COVID-19 virus. Now there are some advantages there. It's faster, it's cheaper, but it's not quite as accurate. So a lot of times if you test negative with an antigen test, if that's available to you, but you're really sick, they'll still have a PCR test done just to confirm, because there's a high false negative rate with antigen tests. That means that that sometimes they do test people who have COVID-19, but the antigen test shows up negative because it hasn't been able to pick up those proteins. Anyway, I was going to talk about vaccines today, but we're already up to over 8 minutes with this video, so I'm going to go. Please, after you're done with this video, check in with your class. We'll have a very brief class discussion around the time everybody's done. Check Schoology. You'll have an assignment detailed there. You do have homework this weekend. And there's no way you can finish it in class. It's a video. I'll put it on Edpuzzle. I really think that you'll learn some interesting things from it. Yeah, it's a documentary about science, but it's done by a guy named Jim Al-Khalili, who's really, really good. It's about the history of science. Long time ago, hundreds of years ago, people didn't know really anything about science. And so in those days of alchemy, everything was very mysterious. And people did all kinds of crazy experiments trying to figure out things about the world around them. And some of those experiments are talked about in this video. So I think you'll enjoy it, even though you might not want to admit that. But that needs to be done in addition to today's assignments by Sunday at midnight. So again, check Schoology for details about today's work, because there are a couple different things you need to be doing. I hope you have a good weekend. Stay safe, learn lots, have fun. I'm here if you need me, okay?